Hello and welcome to What's Trending with Tire Review. My name is David. I am the editor of Tire Review, and today we are talking about electric vehicle tires. Specifically, we are speaking with the head of product management, Marko Saari at Nokian Tyres, formerly the North American product manager, about their new electric fit symbol that kind of designates that, hey, this tire is going to be a great fit for a consumer's electric vehicle. He's got a lot of details that we're going to get into here. Let's get to the interview. Marko, thank you so much for joining us here on What's Trending today. Really appreciate it. You're coming to us from Finland, is that correct?
That is correct. Absolutely.
Far.
I'm calling from near the city of Nokia, a name which might be you familiar from the mobile phones, but this is also where we have a Nokian Tyres headquarters in the same city.
Perfect. Well, thanks for taking the time, especially being so far from our studio here in Akron, Ohio. I wanted to ask, so we're talking about your electric fit symbol that's been developed for your tires that are, it's kind of to call out that, hey, this is going to be a great fit for your electric vehicle for consumers. So how do you go about amplifying those attributes that consumers are looking for in tires that they are looking to spec for their EV?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there are many things which are very kind of popular topics for EV drivers, like, for example, the rolling resistance in terms of what the actual range is going to be, maybe the durability, the comfort of the tires and that kind of topic. So in a way, and in general level, all these topics are such which are very much relevant to all kinds of tires. Mm-hmm. But yet, they get special focus when it comes to EVs. And many of these characteristics, they are actually ones which we have been developing for the European tires for a long time already. And we have certain regulations and requirements in Europe, which we have to follow. And many of these topics are actually such that they also happen to match with the requirements for EV cars. And yes, there are always ways to take those requirements a step higher and make it even more suitable. And that's what we are doing, and we are actually, as a result of that, we have gained quite a long experience on getting all these different characteristics taken into account, and we can tap into this expertise when we are developing the tires. And I'm gonna come back to some examples in a minute as well.
Sure. And when you're looking to enhance these characteristics, what is it all about? Kind of the compound or that tread pattern combination, or specific technology that you're developing for these tires?
Actually, it's of course all of those, but there are also some, let's say, more peculiar things which might not come to your mind as the first thing. For example, for our winter tires, there is quite often the topic of if you have a winter tire which has those metal studs that we use quite widely in the Nordic countries and also in Canada and northern parts of the US they are used. They tend to create some noise. And there's also typically in the winter tires, there are those blocks which are kind of creating the tread pattern on the tire. And those, for winter tires, those blocks are more visible and more kind of like concrete there. They tend to create some noise. And this noise comes through the tire structure and through the suspension and inside the car, and that's quite often seen as a problem for winter tires. And a good example of this kind of like less obvious development that we have been doing is that we have really concentrating on the user experience. So in terms of user experience here, we have looked at not only that what is the decibel level which the tire is creating as a noise level, but we have actually looked into the psychoacoustic experience. So us humans, we have certain frequencies when we listen, they are more irritating, and we are really going after those irritating and bad frequencies, and we have found ways of kind of eliminating those. For example, we have for example in the studded tires, we have a special layout for the studs. And the same way in some other winter tires, special layout for the blocks of the tread pattern. And these actually optimize it in such a way that we don't get that kind of irritating sounds, and that's very good development with especially with the latest generation of the products which we have had, and that's a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would think as a consumer, I would definitely expect a studded winter EV tire to be noisy, because it's a winter tire, because it's got the studs on it. So it's really interesting that you're able to find ways through that tread pattern to really kind of mitigate that noise there. In some of Nokian's media materials, I've read that in the future, the company kind of believes that we're not going to be talking about EVs as EVs. They're just going to be cars. How do you anticipate, at that point, do you think that developing tires for EVs, is that then, I guess, via the transitive property, you're just creating tires for cars at that point? Is every tire going to have kind of these same similar characteristics that you're talking about?
We have actually already now, the electric fit is a promise of our products in general, that they are compatible with your electric vehicle. But we already have also this kind of dedicated lines as well. So we have in our winter tires, the Hakkapeliitta 10, Hakkapeliitta R5, there is a special EV range of sizes, like more than 50 sizes, if I remember right. And in those products, we have actually gone a little bit further. We have made special efforts to kind of optimize the stability for the car in question. And these are all intended for electric cars. We also have a special compounding so that we can get the best possible rolling resistance. And then finally, maybe the most visible and more, let's say, most concrete part of the solution is that we have a Nokian Tyres silent drive solution, meaning that we have actually this kind of foam inside the tire. And this foam is then further extending our capability to cutting those noise levels which are coming from the tires to the cars. And by introducing these in the winter tires, we have in practice taken already existing technology. We are not the first in the world to do this, but we have actually applied it to the winter tires properly for the first time ever. And this has been now on the market. I think this is now the third winter already. The feedback has been great. People like the product. I just explained how we are able to improve the psychoacoustics, but this is taking it even further. So the tire is quiet, and it's at the same time very suitable for the winter conditions what it's built for. So very good kind of like a solution overall. So in practice, what this means is that of course we could put this kind of foaming to all the products that we have, or every single size, for example. But in practice, we have seen that in the marketplace, there's always going to be consumers who don't want to pay that extra. In practice, we need to charge a little bit extra for this. And some people will be willing to do that. So it means that it's not going to be like on all the tires. And in the same way, there's going to be different levels of requirements by different consumers. And this is also our approach, that we will have both this kind of very high-end and then, let's say, normally very good products
Sure.
In parallel.
Absolutely. I wanted to shoot back really quick to something that you had mentioned earlier in the interview about kind of having your R&D a little bit influenced by what's happening in Europe. Obviously, where you're from, electric vehicles are a little more common on the roadways than it is here in the U.S., or maybe arguably depending on your geography. I was wondering, how does what you're seeing in Europe influence what you're doing here in the U.S. when it comes to manufacturing tires for electric vehicles?
Yeah, yes, there are of course some differences on the car kind of models which are sold. There's more trucks in the US, and in Europe we have more like sedan and this kind of normal passenger cars. But when it comes to EVs, it's the same story, that all the EVs typically have very good torque. They are, in general, the average weight of the car is higher, but otherwise they're just cars like described earlier. But what we have learned is that we have our neighboring country, Norway, is leading the world in terms of electric vehicle penetration. They have if I remember right, it was 84% of the new cars sold in Norway. It was a couple of months ago. It was they were electric, and they were battery electric, meaning they were full electric cars. And then there was like maybe 6% plug-in hybrid. So it means 90% of all the new cars were already electric vehicles, and this has been the case for quite a long time already, as a result of some support which the Norwegian government has been doing. And same is repeated in Sweden and also in Finland. So the Scandinavia in general is leading even the world, together with some other countries like Netherlands and some other parts of Europe. So there's a lot of electric cars. Our products are being used widely, and like just described, we have those special solutions for winter for consumers, and the feedback is great. We see that the products work, but not only in our lab and in our testing grounds, but they also work in the market. The quality has been good, no complaints, so absolutely working very well for us. And this is, in fact, the result of the very long-term work which we have been doing. It's been more than 10 years now already when we developed the first products to support the first BMW electric cars.
Wow.
And around the same time, it was the early Teslas as well. So we have been doing this for a very long time, and so we have a lot of practical experience on the topic, and also using the electric cars all the time in the testing. So it's of course important part of the whole product work.
Sure. So sustainability is one of these topics that it kind of goes hand in hand with people who are adopting and driving electric vehicles. Obviously, Nokian Tyres sustainability is kind of one of your core pillars of kind of what you're working toward. I know you have the goal of having 50% of all materials used in your products being recycled or renewable by 2030. I was wondering, what are some of the keys to make that happen? We're 6 years away almost at this point from that year. Have you identified the materials that are going to be necessary to make this kind of dream come true?
Yeah, they are very much on the track as well. And the whole sustainability topic is, of course, it's corporate wide. So we are making a lot of different kinds of things. But in terms of products, first of all, the products have a footprint in terms of carbon dioxide, the CO2 emissions, and that's of course important part of the product design. In practice, it means for us that we need to get the product's rolling resistance to be lower. But that's one part of the sustainability. You were asking about the materials use, and here it's actually a quite interesting one. We have seen quite clearly now, looking at the materials kind of development in terms of supply chain. This is an industry-wide topic. Everybody is adapting to this. We have, like you just said, our own kind of targets, but the same is happening by all the manufacturers. So there are many supply chain topics which are being addressed by all the companies at the same time. So everybody's going after certain kind of materials. So there's going to be this kind of like a general solutions from the material suppliers, and everybody, all the tire manufacturers will benefit from that. And then there's going to be space for kind of innovation. So finding new materials which both work well in terms of performance of the tire, and then also getting the shifting the material use from the normal material to this kind of recycled or renewable materials. And maybe some examples of the materials would be that first of all, the natural rubber, it's of course used already today, and that's renewable material, but that's of course not enough. So we have then synthetic rubber also, which is one focus area. We have seen that there is so-called mass balance approach very widely adopted now in the industry, so that there is already supply chains developing for that. And then in terms of fillers, which we are using in the tires, there is the recycled carbon black, which is an important one. There's opportunities in other kind of more specialized materials as well. For example, recycled rice husk, That's a very specific one. And then, of course, the steel, which is used as a reinforcement, that's we can use recycled steel. So there are many different ways to improve the situation, and I think this is not only a dream, but it's actually happening, and we are on the track. So very, very much looking forward to that as well. And there's actually more details also than if needed in our sustainability report, but these were maybe some highlights from that angle.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Marko, thank you so much. This has been very enlightening for me, and I just really appreciate your time here joining us today.
Thank you.
Take care. Okay, so what a great interview with Marko. One of my biggest takeaways is that, despite having a winter tire that is studded, there is still technology that is being developed for these tires, specifically electric vehicle tires, that is able to make that noise come down quite a bit. And, it's this kind of technology that's being developed over and over again, and this kind of innovation that is really, really kind of driving this industry forward, especially when it comes to electric vehicle tires. And then also, we're hearing a lot in this industry about sustainability efforts by a lot of different companies trying to increase those. But, Nokian Tyres and their kind of goal of having 50% recyclable materials in all of their products, recyclable or renewable by 2030. That's a big one. That's a big one. And to see them kind of this far along the path already, it makes my heart flutter, if you will, that they are doing so well kind of with this directive. So hoping that we can speak with them again down the road shortly on this topic, because obviously there is so much that we could get into that we didn't have time to today. I hope you'll join us again for that episode. Until then, have a good one.